All right, the latest information coming out of the United Nations is that the number of refugees that have fled from Ukraine in a week is close now to 1 million people. It's a staggering number, considering, of course, that just 2 weeks ago, people in Ukraine were being told to cheer up. Nothing was going to happen. We know, of course, all of that has changed. So how bad is the refugee crisis? We're joined now by Dr. Riina, Kionka, who is the European Union's ambassador to South Africa. A very good morning to you, and thank you so much for your time.
Good morning, Nani.
Gosh, how bad is the situation? The UN's latest estimates now suggesting almost 1 million refugees have fled from Ukraine in just a week.
The situation is just as you describe it, it's quite bad. Our latest figures suggest that some 650 persons have arrived in various European Union member states by this time.
Of course, most of those that have fled have gone to Poland, but some have gone to other countries, Hungary, Moldova, Slovakia, Romania. How prepared are these countries to receive these people?
Well, we've had something of a wake-up call a few years ago in 2015 when there was a huge flow of refugees into the European Union as a result of the war in Syria, but one can never be quite prepared for this kind of flow.
I mentioned earlier in our discussion this Holocaust memorial site that was attacked by the Russian military, a civilian gym. It's quite clear now civilian infrastructure and civilian casualties have left any doubt, or at least have removed any doubt from people about the situation they find themselves within Ukraine.
Yes, it's developments have moved very, very quickly in the last week, and what we're seeing is indiscriminate bombing of civilians and civilian targets. It's an all-out war.
It is an all-out offensive. President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine saying Moscow essentially wants to erase his country.
This is what the president is saying. Yes, indeed. What seems to suggest that there are broader aims. I wouldn't want to speculate on what those aims are, but we are seeing a huge problem.
We've seen, of course, the sanctions against Russia by Western allies, the European Union, of course, among them. It doesn't seem that it's going to be enough to make Russia's Putin rethink their actions.
Well, I'm not sure about that because we're seeing already effects of the sanctions. The ruble is dropping dramatically. A number of large companies based in Russia are going bankrupt. So these are measures that usually take a little bit of time to take effect.
But when they do, the impact is expected to be devastating, particularly to the Russian people.
Yes, unfortunately, and what we're seeing is braver the Russian people who are, many of whom are on the streets protesting against the war and are being arrested and detained as a result.
You are here in South Africa. What do you make of the UN General Assembly vote yesterday? South Africa, one of 35 countries that abstained on a vote that really just demanded Russia's immediate withdrawal from Ukraine. One would have thought it's obvious what the right thing to do is.
Well, 141 countries voted for this resolution. It's an overwhelming condemnation of the war. So it's I would say it's a good indication of what the world community is thinking. That 35 countries abstained and 5 were against. So it makes one wonder what the next step is for those 35 countries.
But principle matters in these issues. Of course, as a permanent member of the Security Council, Russia was always going to veto the resolution. But principle surely matters. One wants to be on the side of right on these things.
Absolutely. And the South African Constitution is one of the most progressive and fairest in the world. It was written as a result of the past and of the apartheid past, and it's lauded around the world. So one would like to hope that South Africa still opts to do the right thing.
Is the EU disappointed, given that so many members of the EU were vocal in terms of their support of the anti-apartheid struggle, but also funded the anti-apartheid struggle? They weren't neutral when we needed them. Is there some disappointment about our position on these matters now?
Well, sure, of course. There was incredible outreach before the vote yesterday in New York towards South Africa. And we would have hoped for a different result. But the sun rises this morning, and we continue working toward a solution that can bring peace to everybody.
Do you think these positions dent our standing on the international stage?
Well, that's not for me to say. But I do think that it raises certain questions about the direction that South Africa wants to go in, and with whom.
As diplomatic as you can be. Hey, Ambassador, thank you so much for your time. Dr. Riina Kionka, the European Union's ambassador to South Africa.